Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. Now everyone, I've liked Luzanne from the first time we met. That was about 8 years ago. She always seems extremely calm, collected and connected. Even once she had her children, I still had the feeling that she is totally on top of everything. I wanted to hear her secret and asked her to be a Meet Me in the Field guest. Luzanne is also studying to become a doula. For those as ignorant as I am and never knew that something like that exists, here is the Wikipedia definition of a doula. A woman who gives support, help and advice to another woman during pregnancy and during and after the birth. This sounds awfully exciting and I wanted to know more about this as well. This podcast is supported by the first layer, the 12-step workbook on working through the 12 steps in any addiction in 21 sessions. There is also a 24-day step coaching and counseling program available based on the first layer. For more information in this regard, go to www.freddy.org.za and click through from the notices at the right of the homepage. Sit back and enjoy Luzanne's journey. Good afternoon, Luzanne. How are you doing?
I'm good.
You're looking well. I love the dress you're wearing. It is all fabulous. Is it short sleeve? Is it
It's actually a short sleeve dress. I think it can be a summer's dress.
Oh, cool.
I like it too much to wait for summer. Summer's never coming back.
Are you an instant gratification type of girl?
I think I am, yes.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't think of you as that.
Wow. I don't know why.
I don't know why as well. Welcome to Meet Me in the Field. Thank you for chatting with us. It's much appreciated. As I said, I had quite an interesting experience getting here. It was so weird.
I almost really met you in a field.
My GPS took me, for the listeners, on a road that I thought was a very weird place to start. Anyway, and then suddenly it said to me, turn right, which I knew I had to turn right at some stage. And as I turned right, I said to myself, you know what they say, once a year, go somewhere you've never been before. And as I said that to myself, my battery went flat. So I had no idea where I was.
It's always very exciting and scary at the same time.
It wasn't a good area.
Yes.
So I just kind of, okay, stay calm, just drive. And here I am. On time, I think, as well.
On time, very much.
So that was not bad.
On the dot.
Fabulous. Cool. So I'm very happy to be here and very happy to have you in the non-traditional. Normally people sit in the green seat in my office. So you're in a brown seat. Luzanne, we've known each other since when? We met in, must be 2010, 2011, somewhere
I'm very
out there.
bad with time. I just know it was in Kirsty's flat.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the flat that I shared with Kirsty, who
Garden,
is the cat lady of the previous episodes. Yes. Driving here, I thought about it that in this area, in a question of 2 blocks in this area, I've done the cat lady, I've done the altruist, James.
Oh, it's
I've
a
done
hot spot.
The photographer, Fiona.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's one of those energy lines must run through here.
Absolutely, yes.
The contour of Cape Town.
So,
Mountain.
and you were living in Mossel Bay at that stage.
I think no, we lived in George. Yes, we lived in George for 7 years. My husband and myself. Yes, at that stage.
And you were working for Truth.
Yes, I was a window dresser at that stage.
No.
I was,
you were a visual display
yes,
artist.
I was a window dresser going into the role of a window display designer. I kind of got promoted and started working at their head office in Cape Town. So I was a window dresser in the Garden Route area, so I had to drive around to a few towns, and there's only one city in the Garden, which is George, which is weird because it doesn't feel like a city. So it's very happy to move to Cape Town after staying in George, which is, I think, more for people that like retiring, and maybe now with children it might have been a good place to raise children, but I'm still very happy to do it here.
Awesome.
Yes.
We're very happy if we do it here as well.
Yes.
And you're originally from Pretoria?
No, I was born in Wynberg. My dad was in Two Military Hospital. My dad was in the army, so we stayed in a few places. When I was 3, we moved to Pretoria for 2 years. Then we came back to Saldanha for 2 years. Then we were in Goodwood for a few years. Then we moved to Pretoria when I was 12.
Oh, my
And
word.
then I was in the rest of primary school, high school, and university in Pretoria.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes.
Okay. And Luzanne, did you grow up with a sense of spirituality, religion, anything
I
like
was
that?
typically Afrikaans, brought up in the NG Kerk.
Oh, there you go,
Yes,
girlfriend.
no, I went through I found Jesus when I was a teenager.
Did you?
Oh, yes, definitely found Jesus.
Which school did you in Afrikaans hoor?
No. I was in die hoërskool Aldorrein in Centurion,
Oh,
yes.
cool, yes.
Yes, so I was like a youth leader, and I felt Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Very, and I'm sounding sarcastic, but it was very real at that stage. For me, it was a real experience. But then in high school, I kind of realized that I did not, whatever this God was that they were talking about, it didn't feel like the God that I knew. And I ended up like finishing school and never going back to church.
Okay.
I just did not.
So was it just a feeling, or was there an event that happened that kind of, this is bullshit type of thing?
There were a few things. I think a big part of my reasoning came from having quite diverse friends at that stage. I had some gay friends in high school. And
Ooh.
yeah, so that was also like part of my thinking of, if gay people can't go to heaven, and this is like one of the most amazing, beautiful people that I know, like how can this God that they're talking about, this is not the God that I believe in. So there was a lot of hypocrisy I found in the church.
And at that stage, gay people were not allowed in the military, I suppose.
I don't know. But
So
I'm
when
sure
I was
there
doing
were
military service,
quite a few. You just nobody must know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would have been a very difficult
Okay.
thing to be. Yes.
And then you went to university.
Yes, I went to university,
Tukkies.
and yes, I went to Tukkies. I studied interior
Tukkie,
design,
binne dat so.
and then that was like really where my mind opened, because I had amazing lecturers. I studied interior designing. Two of my lecturers were architects, and they were very open-minded people. So that was the first time that my small Afrikaans Christian universe, but I was very interested in the other.
Yeah.
And that's where it all just opened up, and I just realized this whole thing about a man-made construct of God and religion, and the way these rules are all just, man-made. And I just never ever went back to looking for God there. I've recently been quite intrigued with the Roman Catholic Church, but I think it's because of the fact that I am very intrigued with Mary, and I've read a few books about Mary, and I think
Mother
it's
of Jesus.
Yes,
Okay.
not Magdalene. I've not read much about her, but maybe it's because I'm a mother now. But yes, I've been reading a lot about her, and I've been intrigued with her for a long time.
What started that?
I think
since you became a mother.
It was before that, but now ever since more. I think part of my searching for who this God is that I believe in was the whole idea that it must be a man. And the whole, like, how the feminine has been taken out of our mainstream God as we know it today. Yeah. So I've done a bit of like reading and research about the female. I mean, the goddess used to be like the main thing for many years, and then suddenly these things changed. But I mean, I don't know if you know Karen Armstrong, and I'm not good remembering things verbatim, but she wrote this one book about how humans always reinvent God to be what they need it to be at that stage. Mm-hmm. So that I found quite interesting just in this whole thing. But I think the same for me, definitely, and maybe for other humans. Like we change God for who we think, whatever you want to call God. Like as you grow up and it's fluid, I think. And there's a poem that I always remember that I don't know if it was Antjie Krog or some other, it was definitely female, Afrikaans poet, that wrote something about how she left God to find God. Ek het God verlaat omdat ek God wou vind. That's the kind of the gist of it. And that's how it's felt to me. Like I think it's very naive, but also arrogant to think that you know exactly who God is. To me, it should never stop. And it's like always unfolding.
Well, if you think about whatever God is, that he, she, it is infinite. So to think that you know what it is makes you extremely arrogant to think you know what is infinity.
Yes.
In one of my chats here, I speak to a guy and I called him the 76%er.
Yeah.
Because he says that he read somewhere that ultimately there's, of the whole universe, we know something like about 24% of what exists.
Okay.
So the other 76% are things we don't know.
Yes.
And that's all still to be revealed. And he lives his life in more will be revealed. So live in awe, live in search, live in open-mindedness, because as we do, more will be revealed. And I love that. I really, really like that whole view.
Yes. I think that is
You used the word earlier, searched.
Yes.
So do I hear correctly that there is within you a need for something to call God?
I don't think there's a need, there's a knowing. To me, there's a knowing.
So it's an intellectual process, not an emotional or...
For me, no, the knowing does not come from my mental knowing. There's a knowing in my soul.
Okay.
It's like a soul knowing. It's like that deep-rooted, like just that feels, it just is. And I've moved beyond the point where it is important to know, or it is important to find that right place, or that church, or that institution, or going to the Sufi temple, which I was also obsessed with. And ever since having 2 children, I never get to the Sufi temple on that one Sunday, or every second Sunday a month. And I'll get there, I'll still get there. But I think I've realized that I'm not going to find God somewhere else.
Okay.
It's not going to, I don't have to go to India or to South America or to a silent retreat, because and life is busy. I think
especially with 2.
Yes, and I feel
what are they now? One's
1
a toddler.
and 4.
One we call a toddler, the 4-year-old. The other one is...
I don't know what, because she now also walks. So I don't know. Like we were just saying, Quentin and myself. I don't know what they called after I don't know. But the one is 1 and the one is 4.
Oh God! Somewhere in my developmental psychology books, I'll find
You're
it. You're
supposed to know. I have no idea. So I do often feel frustrated and a little bit like sorry for myself for not having more time to spend on this connecting with whatever that knowing is, because I enjoyed that, and it's kind of like a door that you open and you can't close it again, because there's glimpses of moments before you fall asleep and all of that. And I know I can probably get up at 5 and meditate more and whatever, but I'm completely like, I mean, if your child wakes up 3 times a night, like I don't know, like, so I just find this like this, I'm learning about other things that I need to learn now. My ego is being tamed a lot. It's actually being chiseled down very nicely. But children, there's nothing like children to do that for you. And also just showing you like the cuckest version of yourself, like you think you've seen the worst, and then there's another layer of like, just like, whoa, I can also do that. And I just said that.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I think of you as this model mother.
Shoot.
I really do.
We don't spend a lot of time together, obviously. Thank you very much.
Because when I do see you, you do seem like that.
Oh my gosh, I know.
What I see is that you seem to give your children a lot of freedom to be who they are, who they need to be.
I try, but I do find myself still like shouting, don't get your pants wet and don't splash in the water, and why do I have to wipe you again? But that you kind of chill on certain things. I think
one of the best scenarios I'll never forget this was a few months ago. Jaco and myself invited a few friends and we went to the Lawrenceford market.
Yes. Because
we have a small house, we can't really entertain at home, so we do that type of thing. If the weather's good, we say let's meet a group friend. And one couple has this 7-8-year-old boy, and at Lawrenceford there's this big fountain, and a lot of children play in and around the fountain. So the boy asked his father, "Can you go and play in the fountain?" So his father said, "Yes, just don't get yourself too wet." The next minute, the child arrives, but he is soaked. He is drenched. And the father was so angry. And I looked at this and I thought, I suppose too wet was too vague an instruction.
This is the thing with children.
That was so funny. That was so funny. But he was absolutely sad.
And he was so
I can see
happy,
that
I'm sure.
Yeah, he was like a pig in shit.
Yeah,
So don't get your thoughts wet. It's a very, very clear definition what you need to do. Now, you struggled to fall pregnant.
I did with Felix, yes. I had endometriosis, which is not a very difficult condition to actually treat once
But
they
it took
know
them a
it
while
is.
to figure out what it
Yeah,
was.
we
though.
kind of, initially, when we got married, I was 23, which is very young to get married these
Did you guys
days.
meet at varsity? Or?
I was a bar lady. We met at the bar, yes.
Ah.
Yes, Quentin is 5 years older than me. He was already working as a graphic designer at that stage. And I was, in my free time on weekends, I earned some pocket money and I was a bar lady. And that's where we met. So yes, I was 23. We hit it off immediately. Like it was one like that. Do you remember that movie Before Sunset? It's one of those art movies when we were young. It's on a boy. It's that French girl and what's his name? Not Ethan Hawke, the other one. In any case, they on a train. They drive through the night, like somewhere in Europe, on a train, and they meet and they talk through the night, and it's this like romantic thing. Blah blah blah. It was very similar to that.
Okay.
We immediately hit it off and like literally chatted all through the night, and we were like, whoa. But the next day, I saw him and he said to me, he has to tell me something, and I'm like, I knew this was too good to be true. And he said to me, I actually have a girlfriend.
Oh no.
So yes, in any case, she was a medical student. They were together for I think 7 years, and it wasn't going well, and blah blah yakety schmack. And I said, well, luckily we only chatted the previous night. It did not go any further than that, but there was definitely a mutual feeling of interest, of more than just best friends, and blah blah. He said I said, well, okay, cool, thanks for telling me now. You go do whatever you need to do and come back when it's done. And he said, no, definitely, but he can't break up with her now because she's in the middle of her final
Oh my God.
medical doctor's exam. So I said, okay, cool. So eventually they broke up. Blah blah yakety schmack. So yes, my dad said to me, just finish your studies, because we were engaged a month after meeting.
Oh my word.
So my dad said there was 1 year of studies left. He said, please just finish your studies, then you get married. So yes, so then we were engaged for about 1.5 years by the time that all elapsed. So I could not, we didn't want children initially. I was young. I'm like, no. And then we said, no, there's not enough humans on the planet and all of that stuff. And then, I don't know, it's probably a biological genetic thing, that clock that they talk about. And you kind of get this like need to reproduce and have little people. I don't know what it is. It must be. And hindsight is like, what the freaking hell. But in any case, yeah, no, I won't give them back. But then I struggled for a few years, and then eventually when I went to a proper like gynecologist, and they just did some. They
Well, you actually came to Cape Town.
It was diagnosed in George already.
Okay.
They have to do like a laparoscopy. They check out. They just make a little hole in your abdomen through your belly button and put in a little camera, and then they can see because they can't really tell any other way. So then they did some surgery to remove some of the endometriosis growths, and so then the doctor said if I should fall pregnant actually within a window of 3 months. There were some tablets I had to take to stimulate my ovaries. Blah blah yakety schmack. But then that was just before we moved to Cape Town, and I didn't feel up to the move and trying to fall pregnant and a new job. So I said, let's just wait with the baby. So a year later, we went to the fertility clinic at Vincent Pallotti, and the doctor there, who's a specialist, he looked and he said, Joanna, no problem, you're going to have to go for another one of those surgeries and also more of those tablets, but I'll have you pregnant in 3 months. And I still thought, oh, Superman. Well, he was... It was the 3rd month I was pregnant with Felix, and it was a lovely, easy, healthy pregnancy and an easy birth, and perfect, yes, healthy baby.
And that birth, I feel, took your life in a completely different direction.
It absolutely did.
Because then you decided you wanted to become a nurse.
A midwife. I actually I went back to work, which was corporate and creative corporate. And I struggled to it's like you see through the matrix. I don't know, birth often does this, and I see with a lot of my friends, it makes you see life differently. It doesn't matter if the baby, how the baby was born, like motherhood and birth changes you. Just like it just reveals more to you of yourself. I don't know what it is. So I actually, and also what happens, there's so much oxytocin, the hormone of birth and love, It's the same hormone. Made me fall in love, I think, with my midwife very much. She's just amazing. And I just fell in love with this whole idea of the world of birth, because it's just such the most magical place.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Like every time, like I've seen a few births now, it's just like, how did that just happen? You know, all the like biology behind it. And it's the closest I think humans will ever come to magic in this life.
Yeah.
Yes.
The interesting thing is, when I was at varsity, we did developmental psychology. And you start from, there's even psychological theories that start from, you are a product of the concept your parents had when you were conceived, of why they want a child. That's how your development starts.
Yes.
So we started there.
Wow.
And we did the development of the human being right through until death. And I remember knowing that I never want children. That was very, very early in my life.
Yeah.
But thinking to myself, but this is a freaking miracle. It's virtually impossible for normal babies to be born. Because if you look at everything that can go wrong,
the window period of that, actually, of the egg and the semen like meeting up, or the blah blah blah. It's just like that window period is so slim, and yet like we have gazillions of people on this planet.
And each one, I believe now, is a miracle. It really is a miracle.
It's completely insane, actually. So then I wanted to be a midwife. In South Africa, you have to study general nursing, and then after that you can practice as a midwife, and then obviously you're a registered nurse and blah blah blah. And then you can be a private midwife and then you can do home births, or you can have privileges to work as a private midwife at certain private hospitals. If you want to do that. There's also a back road to do it. You can do a midwifery course through, I think it's the North American Association of Midwives, where you do kind of like long distance and some practical, but then you can never register as a nurse in South Africa, but as there's a loophole, you can be a traditional healer.
Okay.
So you register as a traditional healer then, but then you are not privileged to work in a hospital. You can only do home births. Okay. So there's always that way. But so I did 1 year of general nursing on this like dream to become a midwife. And halfway through, because you do practical and theory, and so we worked in hospital, and working in the hospital just really, I almost had a nervous breakdown. I think
ruined it for you.
I think if I carried on, I would have maybe had to go see some people and get some medicine myself, because that was just horrible. The lack of compassion of other nurses, the system, I just realized there that I did not really like Western medicine, and I'm sure some versions, I know that Western medicine is very useful for many things, but it's just not my favorite way of healing most things.
Because that's the one thing I think of you when I think of you, is you seem to be a really compassionate person. Do you remember the Day of the Dead Cat?
Yes.
Now,
I do remember the Day of the Dead Cat.
Can you remember if the Day of the Dead Cat and the Day of the Missing Cocks, was that the same day?
Oh my gosh. I've not thought of this in a long time. I think it might have been the same day. It was just a really weird day. It was a bit of a voodoo thing going on, cats and cocks. That's a bit of like...
So to the listener, so Kirsty and I are living in a flat in Gardens.
Oh my!
And Luzanne drives from. That's not the same weekend that you had the accident on the way there. Surely not. That would have been just too freaky.
No, I don't think it was the same time.
Okay, thank God for that.
I hope
so.
not.
Anyway, so we spent a lovely evening caring, and the next morning we wake up and Kirsty needs to go to work. But somehow we look out the window and realize that we had wooden, there must be another word for them, cocks in the garden.
Yes.
One huge one and one mid-sized one. And we realized, but the big cock is gone.
Yeah.
So it's a big kind of trauma. So how the hell did somebody get into our garden and steal this bloody thing? But anyway, it is. Kirsty gets ready for work, and Luzanne and I stand outside to say goodbye to her as she reverses out the driveway. And as she reverses, there's a cat lying underneath her car.
Oh, yes.
And away she goes, and we go to the cat, and the cat is dead.
Yes. It was dead for a while, I think. There was
Well, it was stiff.
rigor mortis that set in already.
Yeah.
It was a few hours.
So anyway, so the question arises, is there a connection between the missing fowl and the dead cat? It felt like it. It was such a weird feeling, because we were already kind of disturbed that somebody got into our
Maybe the cat
private
saw who
space.
done it and then was hit over the head with a big cock and then died in the driveway.
Anyway, yeah. So I had to pick up this thing, and I was missioning around. So what do we do with the body now? And I came back. You'd taken tea tree oil and you put it on the bag. I remember that so well, and I thought, God, this chick is weird. But there's amazing compassion that you had for this dead cat. It was so weird.
That is interesting.
So that for me is an outstanding event in our lives where the idea that I got from you was, you weird, number one, whether I knew already, but I like weird people, that's why I liked you. But that there's a significant sense of compassion, but also a sense of not garden variety. The idea that I'm getting now is you are now doing the midwifery thing.
I have decided to change to being a doula. And so being a doula is where you support the birthing mother physically, emotionally, spiritually also if she wants, but not the medical side at all.
Okay.
So it's not a medical course, and it's obviously then a much shorter process to become a doula. And I think I've realized that I am in this whole process, I was not supposed to be a midwife. I don't think my brain, my space between my heart and my brain, I think becomes too clouded in a big moment. And I think being a midwife, you have to think clearly, because it's the mother's life and the baby's life that are in your hands. And I think I get that space gets blurred, but I also think my heart and my brain kind of like it fuses. I don't know how to put it, so that I can't necessarily have that clarity of mind, like that logical thinking in a moment where something might go south, if I can say. So I'm very happy to now be a student doula and to not pursue for now. I don't think I would do that in the near future, if ever. So I would rather be on that side of birth, and just where I know my total focus is with the mother, that I can stand with her and talk to her while the baby's being born, and almost be the not the translator, but you're a lot of things. You're the mediator, the translator, the kind of between the medical world and the parents, or the birthing couple, or the just the birthing mother, because sometimes there's not a partner.
How did the birth of your children influence your sense of spirit, if at all?
It definitely does. Definitely. I think it puts a lot of things into perspective, because birth, that line between birth and death is such a thin line, and you don't feel it when you're not there. So most of our lives we spend not close to that line, except if we get very ill, or if somebody gets very ill. But I think birth is the closest that you get to death in a healthy situation. I don't know how to put it. So it's kind of, and also because birth is to me such a mystical, magical experience. And as I believe, when a mother gives birth, you open, spiritually, as your body opens to birth the baby, your spirit also opens. So you're very permeable. And so obviously a lot of stuff comes in and out. There's a lot of energy. There's you open to the universe in such a way that you can't leave birth untouched. So it definitely, and going through it twice, yes, it's, and you can't always put your finger on it just after the birth, because it's obviously it's also a very physical experience. So you would mostly feel the physical effects immediately, but in days and months and years after, there's a lot of other stuff that you kind of remember or see, and also in being pregnant, there's a lot of I think spirituality in being pregnant, the connection between the mother and the baby, meeting that little child even before it's born. It's a very interesting process if you want to be connected to that child. If you kind of tune into that child, it's amazing what is revealed also.
And studying to become a doula,
Yes.
you said part of that is to support the mother spiritually.
Yes, holding the space for her. So obviously, you will work with many different clients, and you might not have the same religion. And some people prefer to have a doula that has the same religion.
Yeah.
If you're obviously very religious, then it might be important to you, or maybe not. But the most important thing a doula needs to do is to allow the mother to step into her power, because that's where you give birth without fear. So you are actually only there to hold space and to allow her. So then obviously from that, like spiritually, you have to practice that availability of just being there for somebody, which is for me a very difficult thing. And I think maybe that's also why I'm drawn to it, because I tend to be like a talker and a fixer and a doer, whereas being a doula, you must just be. You must shut up and just be. So I think that's maybe also why this is such a very, like a moth to a flame thing for me, because that's where I know I need to work. But I just love that space.
It's interesting because I'm not a garden variety counsellor. I talk. I tell people what I think, and I tell them what I think they should do.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk a lot.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I lost my voice this week. So from Monday, I was in bed with laryngitis.
Oy.
And I was wondering whether it might be my higher power's way for me to say that I want you to talk less and listen more. To actually allow the client to be. Because one of the first things I was taught is to meet the client where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And not force them to be
Sometimes-
where you want them to be.
But also sometimes if people are not ready to talk, then it's more comfortable when that other person is talking.
Yeah. Do you find with what you do that you use a lot of your own experience in guiding the people?
I do find the whole world of doula so very different from anything else that I've ever done, because having to be a mother and to have given birth before makes you more understanding of the process, but I don't think it makes you a better or a worse doula. I think certain people feel that a doula, and I know some of the courses, you have to already be a mother to be a doula.
Okay.
But that then excludes people that don't want children, men, for example. And I've met people that I think will make great doulas that are male. So, and in a world that we live where things are so fluid, I think it's very blah blah. So the point is, do I use a lot of my own experience? I think to me this is a very new world, and obviously you draw from what you have. I mean, I must take from somewhere.
Yeah.
So yes, but I think it's a very subconscious drawing of like stuff. You kind of like, it's like sitting on the beach. I think if I have to like have an analogy, and just grabbing in that moment, like thinking, okay, I'm going to now need a big rock and a blue piece of glass and a piece of seaweed. This is what she needs now. Like you just kind of like subconsciously grab what you, it's a permanent also reassessing, because the different stages of birth, mothers need different things.
Okay.
Like initially she might need to be distracted when the labor like pains are not so bad yet, to just kind of get through that phase. So you might still be choky and chatty, and you take the lead from the mom. You'll see when she goes like more into herself, like introverted and like into a quiet space, and so you kind of like follow her lead. So then it gets difficult, especially when you sometimes get to a place in a birth where you can kind of see it stalling. And often, as I've learned and read in books, it's often like a mental block, something that happened in her life, something that she's afraid of, that kind of like stalls her whole birth. And then you kind of really like have to scuttle like a squirrel and just kind of go like, how do I shift this? And that's where it's difficult. I find that to be very challenging. And that's where I'm like, okay, hopefully with experience, more doula experience, I will get better with that.
Do I hear correctly? It's a very intuitive thing.
Yes, I think so. You get, it's like with anything else. It's like different kind of coaches and counselors and therapists, like people have different styles of doing things. I know lots of doulas are they've got a lot of like practical skills, you know, like do their names in their bags, so they'll be amazing at like shiatsu or massages or reflex, you know, so that, and all of those things definitely help.
Okay.
Those things help, but it's not like you also need to be able to like tap into that which cannot be seen.
Yeah.
Yes, and also kind of read what is needed, because some moms do not want you to touch them in birth at all.
Is it?
If some women go so primal that they will scream and yell at you, and if they're quiet and they're birthing happily, and if you try to interfere, it's like just leave the mother. So you have to kind of like read the room.
That's interesting, because what I find for myself is that I sit and I listen to a client and I get words that pop into my head.
That's intuition also.
And exactly. And my gut feel is I have to go with that word. With how obscure it sounds to me. And a lot of times I say to the client kind of, my head is telling me this.
Yeah.
I don't know how does this relate to you?
Yes.
And invariably it does.
Wow.
So, and for me, I cannot be intuitive. I cannot work on a gut feel if I'm not somehow spiritually grounded or connected.
Yeah.
Do you get the same type of feeling?
Yes. And that's why you can't have 10 clients a month when you're a doula, because of the fact that you invest like emotionally and like all of you, like that really takes physically. I mean, remember being stiff for 2 days after a very long birth of just rubbing the mom's back for, I'm not lying to you, 12 hours with every contraction. And so physically, spiritually, like all of that, you do get depleted. So you have to be so there in the moment, and that's where you have to practice. Because I remember one of the first births that I attended, and it was a really long, difficult birth, and it was not going according to the plan of the parents, and it was very difficult to observe and kind of like, no, you see the midwife, you kind of see what's happening, and you know where it's going, and you kind of feel, but you can't be there yet. You have to be in the moment, and you can't jump. So mentally, you know, but then you can't have it translate into your energy, because a nervousness in the birth room and an anxiety, and that's also a big challenge for me, because I'm a very like almost anxious person. I think once again that's why and I remember sitting in that birth room a few times, actually removing myself just a few steps away and just literally like doing breathing exercises by myself, just
pull yourself
like
towards yourself,
exactly going
yourself,
to as my doula teacher calls it, the point of stillness, I think she calls it, and that's where you need to be, because if you are not there, you are not serving the mother. And then you must actually leave. So it's yes,
so you must be the eye of the storm.
That's what you need to be.
Yeah.
And that's
so as the storm breaks around you, you need to make sure that you are quiet and centered and okay. That's, if I think about my understanding, my concept of spirituality, that sounds like an amazingly spiritual space that you're in.
Yes, that's where I'm. Yes,
so what do you do to end off with to keep yourself spiritually fit, which is one of my favorite words in life at the moment?
Well, that is where I am so lacking at the moment, and that's where I get so like I want to spend more time to get spiritually fit, because at this stage, like I this whole like live in the moment, be mindful, don't be there, be here, like it's all the right things, but there's that limitation of your actual physical being. And where people say, like, when you wash the dishes, just feel the water. And, I can't care for that water right now. I'm so tired half of the time from waking up so many times in the night. And being a mother of small children is a very physical thing. There's many other things also, but it's very physical. And my physical body is tired. And that's one thing that I've realized this past year. When your physical body is tired, it really, you struggle to get those other things in sync. It's like you have to, it's that what is it, Maslow's thingy-majiggy? If you do not sleep and eat, like those basic things, then your body falls apart. And because I did not grow up in the Himalayas chanting and meditating and being a Buddhist, as much as I wish that I can have that amazing, just being there in the moment. Like I am very much human at the moment, and I struggle to get to my fitness of my spirit. So that's why I love doing births. And I think but there's also what I am realizing this year is you don't have to be a Buddhist under a tree. Like there are other ways to connect with all these things. So what I try to do now is when I speak to people, any people, my friends and any random stranger that I talk to, I just try to not to see people. Just like, so it's the smaller things that, like the things that I'd have to do in any case, like to go to the shop. It's just to, like, if I'd see somebody, just like say something or talk to them or answer them or just don't. Yeah, so that maybe is the only way that I'm managing now, is to just the people that I do know and that I do interact with, is to try to just be more there for them. So I'm not going to try and go out and change the world, and I'm not going to try and be the best friend for anybody, but at least I'm trying to just like be.
Then again, can you imagine if every person in this world go out, when they're out, to be there present for other people? How different the world would be.
Jeez.
So you seem to be the change you want to see.
Gosh. Yeah, but I mean, with all of that, in saying that, you are still also like, this is where I try, but there are so many other ways that you fuck up. So it all balances out. And we end up exactly where we are.
That's what they call balance.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we strive for in life?
I don't know what this balance thing is that they talk about, actually, because if that is what, then I'm very well balanced, then at least I have the extremes of being sometimes a big asshole and then sometimes very compassionate, and then hopefully that all balances out. Whoever scale it is, like
you seem to have reached balance.
No, it's just so not.
I think the Buddha is jealous of you.
I think the Buddha's laughing.
I loved this. Thank you so much for taking this time.
Thank you, Freddie.
And
fun, actually.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love doing these chats.
I'm sure you do.
I'm so happy that I got introduced to this. But have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy your Saturday evening.
You too.
And I shall let you know when we go live.
Oh, awesome. Sure.
Cool. I enjoyed my chat with Luzanne thoroughly. She stays one of my favorite people. I always enjoy spending time with her, even when there are no dead cats around. I was frankly a bit shocked to hear her saying that she feels that she does not always have her shit as together as it seems. My feeling is that she exudes quiet confidence, and a calm nature makes her easily approachable. I think she will be an excellent doula. If I could have had children, I would have wanted her by my side. If you want to know more about what I do, please feel free to connect with me on my website, which is www.freddy.org.za, or find me on Facebook at either Meet Me in the Field, or Freddie Counselor, or Freddie van Rensburg, or on Twitter at RensburgFreddy, or on Instagram at Freddie Counselor. Remember that Freddie is always spelled with an IE at the end. If you feel you have a spiritual journey to share with us, please contact me. I am currently working on a new idea, and I'm looking for somebody who has taken the Hajj or any other significant physical spiritual journey to come and talk to us. If you have done something like and are willing to share your experience with us, I shall greatly appreciate that. I want to thank Luzanne for her time and for sharing her view with Meet Me in the Field. Thank you for listening. Be safe. Bye.